Can you hear me? Good afternoon, everybody. Good day. So only the bravest and strongest stayed, I suppose. It's always on the conference like this till the end. I'm going to talk about digital transformation. Maybe you've heard about the topic in recent days or in recent years, and how the digital disruption is changing our lives. It's not changing only our lives, it's changing the economy, companies we work, and society in general. So, but before starting the presentation itself, I'm going to introduce myself in a few sentences. Most of my career I've worked in telecoms in Croatia, and one of the relevant experiences that I have been executive manager for digital transformation in Croatian telecom, and this has inspired me, where I was working for 3 years as this manager for digital transformation, not just in Croatian telecom, but part of the management team in Deutsche Telekom as well. My wife and myself have founded the company to deal only about the digital transformation strategies and how to implement them. And so far we have worked with a number of companies in Serbia and Croatia. So that's about me, so let's get started. And the most natural place to start with transformation topics is industrial age, I would say. So not that long ago, just 3 or 4 centuries ago, there came a huge seismic shift in how people work and live. And it was industrial age with steam machine getting into daily lives of ordinary people. So the scope of change that people have witnessed then, we are witnessing nowadays, but in comparison to them, we are living this in 10 to 15 years, what they have lived for 2 centuries. Of course, they could not have been living for 2 centuries, but over 5 or 6 generations, the world has changed in a manner that we are experiencing only in 10 to 15 years. If you recall, it was only 11 years ago that Steve Jobs came on the stage, and imagine if this was iPhone, it's similar big, and he came on the stage and said, "This is the phone." And most of people laughed at him, especially companies like Nokia, BlackBerry, Motorola, etc. And who's laughing now? I think Steve Jobs in a grave, but surely Tim Cook as the CEO of Apple. So what has changed then? I'm going to give a quick illustration. For example, in London, there were companies who used to have horse carriages to carry on boats who came on Thames River. So in order to pull the boats to the London, there has been an industry which was doing this for some time in order to speed up the economy, delivering of goods, etc. And suddenly when steamboat came, the steam machine implemented in the boat, one industry completely lost its way, so it stopped to exist. And similar is happening nowadays. So there are a number of industries which are being diminished, number of jobs who are being lost permanently. And this has been the way the human civilization is developing for past few thousand years. Each loss of job creates new jobs. For example, in London at that point of time, there was a need for bigger buildings in order to accommodate larger number of goods. So because there were more boats coming in, you can have more boats with steam machine, then you can deliver boats with horses pulling them up the river. There was need for transportation, of course, because you have a lot of goods you need to transport into the people. So there was railways building up. The ports were expanded. So my point is that there are always people who look at the change from perspective of I want change, and there are people who are exploiting the opportunity. Most people are reacting like this. So in industrial age, when the steam machine came, there was a movement called Ludit movement, where people took axes and other tools, and they were destroying the machines because they were taking their jobs. So what am I going to do? And similar discussion is happening nowadays. So what are we going to do in this digital age? For example, when I started working in telcos, in Croatia there were 15,000 people working in telco industry. Nowadays it's 5,000 people. The similar, but even in larger scope, was happened in Germany. In Germany, in telco industry, at the beginning of 90s, there were 200,000 people. Nowadays, there are 20,000 people working. So 10% of the jobs were kept in telecom industry. And this is going to continue And this change is not something we haven't lived before or experienced before, because you can see, this is from Economist, you can see how much it took for 1/4 of American population to adopt some technology in their daily lives. And for electricity it was 46 years. For the internet it took only 7 years. I think for the mobile phones it was even shorter. But okay, this is some technology which came into the lives, but how did it impact companies and people working in those companies? So, according to some indexes in America, 52% of companies which were present at Fortune 500 list at the beginning when this list was started are not existing anymore. Of course, it's not only due to the technology, but one of the reasons is surely the capability of company to change itself with technology available. For example, electricity. We take it for granted that we have plugs in walls and that we can connect our mobile phone chargers or computers or whatever. But at the beginning of 20th century in America it was not like this. Each factory has its own energy production unit. People were producing electric energy for themselves. And then somebody came, I think it was Edison or somebody else, he came, I'm going to produce electric energy for you, and please buy it for me and focus on your daily business. Some of the companies adopted it, most of them did, and some of them did not. And those who did not adopt to the change of age, the Germans say it, I think, Zeitgeist, spirit of times, they have lost their way and they simply failed to continue their business. It continues like this. In America, you can find a company's example which has been disrupted forever, like a company called Blockbuster. It was the biggest retail DVD chain in America, and it lost its market presence in 3 years due to Netflix, and it went to bankruptcy. But of course, we are not America in Croatia, so we are in Croatia, and Italy is much more similar, I would say, to United States, but so also European country, and the economy is quite different than States. But this digital Darwinism is not going to stop because we would like it to stop. So when you consider these days that we are living in, I think it's fair to assume that nowadays we are living in the slowest of moments which we are going to experience in next years. So the pace of change now is slower than it's going to be in the future. So, and all of us should ask ourselves, I would say, and the companies we work at and the organization we work at, what I can do to remain competitive in job market in next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And not many companies know how to deal with this. In Croatia, for example, we had a crisis which lasted for 10 years, a bit longer than in Europe or United States, and it roughly is related to the period of when smartphone was introduced. So it was 10 years, it started in 2007, and it ended in 2014, 2015. So in those 8 to 9 years, most companies did not invest much in ICT technology. So they need to make decision what they are going to do now. What should we choose? And those companies face this kind of vortex. This vortex illustrates impact of digital technology on each industry we live in. And I'm going to give one quick example from this manufacturing. I have been working in Serbia with one company which is called Extreme Intimo. Extreme Intimo is in Serbia the most popular premium lingerie brand on Serbian market. So they are more popular and they have more market share than Intimissima, Calcedonia and such companies. So it's really great company, privately owned, built from the scratch, is actually from the garage. So when I talk with the owner, of course, and he's 43, 44, and he's quite open-minded and really great guy. And we were talking about what changes can happen. And I asked him, how is demography in Serbia? Well, it's declining. I said, same in Croatia, same in Europe. Do you plan to sell your company? No, I don't plan to sell my company. I built it. I'm going to be here as long as I live. Then maybe I'll pass it to my kids or whatever. Okay, if you're not going to sell your company next 20 years and the demography is declining, so it's fair to assume that market potential is shrinking, because most of the buyers of your products are ladies which are between 20 and 45 years old. And in 20 years' time, there's going to be less than 30%, less than 70% of existing number of customers you have now. So what are you going to do with this? Are you ready to accept diminishing revenue? Well, I'm not. So, and do you think that there will be sensors in the clothing? I said, maybe yes, maybe no. But then I showed him in States you have a company which is producing bras with sensors which is serving to a certain extent as some indicator for mammography. So it follows the shape and checks on daily basis and reports some anomalies and say, go to doctor for some reason, you should check. And then I showed him that there are socks for kids who monitor pulse and temperature and breathing, etc., and it reports to you when something is wrong. So when my wife and myself, when we became parents, we were standing on top of our child for I don't know how many hours and how many days, just being afraid, are they breathing? If my wife came to me and said, I need 10 of those socks, I would buy them immediately. Or even though they're very expensive, they cost 59 euros or $59 2 years ago when I checked last time. There are number of companies like Adidas, Nike, who produce sportwear with sensors, who say to you, okay, stop what you are doing right now, according to your age, according to your weight, according to the data we collect from 100,000 people all over the world. You should stop now. It's okay that your pulse is elevated, it's okay that your breathing is, I don't know, shallow or whatever, that you have lost that much liquid from your body, but you should stop now because some people had a heart attack when they were having similar conditions. So we were discussing about it, and of course it's up to him to choose which kind of future he's going to roll out. But if he decides that he should accept such future, he needs to think about several topics. One topic is, should I focus in future on elderly people and what kind of lingerie I'm going to need for elderly people? The other topic is, if I introduce sensors, how my production is going to look like. Do I have equipment which I can use for those sensors? Do I have the workforce which can work with new equipment? Where should I buy it? Who will maintain it? What kind of organization do I need? Should I stay here? He has his factory in small town in southern Serbia. Should I move my factory maybe? So these are all examples from one industry which is normally considered not that much interesting in terms, okay, lingerie, underwear, pajamas, etc. What can be done here? But when you look at the impact of digital, and digital is changing the way we make decisions not only about economy, but about the way how are we going to live our lives and how many kids we are going to have. I'm going to illustrate it with one example from one book. It's called 100-Year Life, in which British married couple, I think, that they are from Britain, they have exploited what does demographic shift means for the economy. And they say that average Joe, let's say from States, born in 1945, he knew that he's going to live until 72 and that he's going to work until 65. Then we come to somebody my age, I'm from 1971. I should live in average, if I'm lucky enough, 87 years, and I should work till I'm 75 because of this demographic trends, etc. And my daughter, who is currently 11, she should live 107 years old and work till she's 85, 87. So maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, but the shift is changing, so people are living longer. Maybe their assumption and statistics are not that precise. But imagine what does it mean in terms of economy? What does it mean in terms of making decision about having a family? How many kids are you going to have? I'm not sure that my wife would marry me if she knew that I'm going to live till 100 years old. She said, no, I can take you 30 years, but not 55. And what does it mean about schooling? And how are you going to compete on that market? Because this Joe, who was baby boomer, this Joe knew that he's going to change 2 companies and maybe 5, 6, 7 positions. This, let's say Jack, from 1971, he knew that he's going to change 5 companies and maybe 15 positions. But our daughter, she's going to need to change 5 to 7 careers. And so how are you going to approach this? So when you have all of this in mind, it's quite reasonable to expect that this impact, these changes, which are happening in pharmaceutical companies, manufacturing, technology, healthcare, and these are all industries I have been working with in the last 3 years. This is not going to be stopped. Everything that can be digitized is going to be digitized. And if you have this perspective that you are going to live 87 years, for example, it's not fair to assume that I'm going to work manually when I'm 75. I need to make a shift in my mind and make decision about maybe my career. This is why I stopped working in telecoms. I saw that telecom industry is diminishing, jobs are diminishing, that I'm going to get fired eventually at one point of time because the pool is getting smaller and the crocodiles are getting bigger. So what should I do? Then I chose to start all over again and to start coaching, lecturing and stuff like this, because this is what I can do with my mind. It's not related to my hands, and the passing of knowledge and experiences can keep me on job market for next 40 years. So it's better to start when you are 44, 45 than to start when you are 60. So these are all changes that are happening around these days. And when you look at the impact, what's happening, so it's quite complicated at the first glance, but when you look at it with more attention, this line represents the number of jobs which have been created in new companies. So most of the jobs are creating in new companies on jobs that have not been existing 5 to 10 or 15 years ago. The jobs are being lost in the companies which are 11 plus years old. And most of us work either in organizations like state, municipal, whatever, or the companies which are not Google and Uber. So people, when they are talking about digital transformation and about impact of digital in lives, they are talking about Airbnb, Uber, Google, Facebook. These are all great companies. So, but we cannot implement business model of Uber, Google, Airbnb in our existing companies. So there are people, there are roles, there are culture, there is organization, there is some kind of competition, there is lack of willingness to change. A lot of people are not willing to change, even on executive level. It's good enough, let me be, I don't want to change. So from my experience, it is not easy to start the path of change with yourself. But the change from my perspective is necessary, because when you look previously, there was one-way road in terms of communication. So since I'm originally sales guy and I've been managing sales and marketing, when, for example, in Mad Men days, there were some guys deciding, okay, we're going to put some guy on a horse, put him Stetson, cigar, and we're going to write Marlboro, and that's it. We are not going to do anything more. And this was communication, one communication fits all, and everybody was accepting this. So it was that kind of world. Today, it's not like this. When you work in companies which have a lot of clients, for example, telecom industry or some kind of communal services like electricity, gas, when the competition is introduced, you become more demanding. And there is example from a friend of mine. He came in a bakery with his daughter, and the lady didn't say hi, and because she was like that. But in most bakeries today, people are saying, "Good afternoon. How can I help you?" And his girl said, "Daddy, why is this lady undecent? Why isn't she polite?" And this is example of liquid experience. So this is the term coined by some digital guys, which elaborate that we shift our experiences from the extra quality companies to our everyday lives. So we are mapping exquisite services from Uber, from Facebook, Airbnb, all of those companies into our daily interaction with all the other companies and service providers. So this is what we expect nowadays. And as the people, younger people are having their share of wallet introduced bigger and bigger, so not only depending about the parents, but they are making their own money. They are putting pressure on the companies to act in a way, and public services to act in a way they expect, they are used to have. And this is this kind of world. People are moving all over the place. They're having their customer journeys or user experience journeys, where they touch companies in several touch points and make their decision after touching 10, 15, 20 touch points. I'm going to come to this later on. So the point is, the pace of change is accelerating. It's not going to stop. This is the slowest moment of our lives in terms of economy. Of course, we can always decide that we are not going to live with technology, that we are going to go on some remote island and live from olive oil and from tourism. So this is also an option, but you will need to get clients to you, and technology comes in as well. So, but most of the people who are working should know that technology is going to be more and more part of our business. Because when you see how the development of technology in terms of human population has been developing, we are living in singularity times. So the pace of change, technology has started to replicate itself. And it's just the beginning. So we have so far lived internet. So internet is part of everyday life. The other part is mobile internet, so this came with the smartphones. And for example, when I started selling internet in companies in my first telecom where I was working, I was coming to the IT directors who didn't have computer. So you come, IT director doesn't have a computer. It was in 2000, 2001. And we had, as telecom companies, we have reached in 2005, 2006 bottlenecks. So we came to the top of the customers who wanted internet, who wanted to have PC, who wanted to have laptop and to have internet connection. But then the smartphone came, and it really changed the world, because everybody needed internet then, and everybody needed Facebook eventually, or LinkedIn, and nowadays Instagram and Pinterest. So the fastest growing community in the world regarding smartphones are people over 55, because they want to stay connected with their grandkids, with their kids, on Instagram, Facebook. They have discovered the mobile internet, and we are living this way right now. What we are facing now in next few years is the Internet of Things, and later on artificial intelligence and robotics. Internet of Things is something we already have experience with. And one example of Internet of Things can be your parking sensors on your car. So when you park, there's some kind of remote device who detects that there's something nearby, and it says to you at the front of your console or with the sound, stop now. So, and this crude example of something which can be called at some level Internet of Things is just the beginning. So it's not only about being connected for your heating or for your air conditioning or your fridge or whatever. So it's about sensors in the clothes. It's about being able that you have machine-to-machine communication, that machine is communicating to other machine what it should do. Machines who are able to walk like people. It's not that easy as it sounds. But it's real difficult nowadays for robots when there's a lot of robots not to collide with each other. Humans are much better in detection of movement and predicting what they should do. So this is going to change the world in terms of economy. So the next internet lies here. And this can be also applied to these climate changes or sensors who are scattered all over the place, who detect fire, who detect temperature, who detect humidity, who detect smoke. So this is gonna be a new Facebook. And companies, and for example, companies like this Extreme Intimo, which I mentioned previously, will need to make decisions should they adopt their business model according to the Internet of Things and implementation of sensors in their daily business, how they produce and what they sell and what those products are made of. So this won't go away, and it leaves us with question: what are we going to do with our companies in a time of change where there's so many buzzwords? Where should I start? And these are not buzzwords anymore. For example, a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine, she recently had tooth implanted, which was produced by 3D printer. So she went on the scan, and why should you have a dental technician when you can print it? So what does it mean for dental technicians all over the world? Are they going to have a job or not? So what is their role in society later on? So all of those things are happening in the world, somewhere sooner, somewhere faster, but eventually everything comes to us. Eventually. When I was younger, when I was driving to, I don't know, Austria, there was a lot of billboards. There was none in Yugoslavia and Croatia. But nowadays we all have billboards. Similar to this, we didn't have smartphones, we didn't have this and that. Everybody has it nowadays. So all of this is going to come to us, and it's, I would say, our luck that we have models who can inspire us. So we have advanced economies, which are in terms of market development and the technology development way ahead of us, and then we can learn by their mistakes and successes, and we can implement it. But it starts with the mindset first. You know, the mindset should be: I'm willing and able to change. I'm willing to able to change myself, my company, my society, my government, my communal services, whatever. I'm going to put pressure on them because this is the level of service which I expect. These are pieces of the puzzle of the life we are going to live in. And for some of the people, this can be discouraging. This can be some kind of techno future like Terminator 3 or whatever kind of future there will be. But the fact that tsunami is coming doesn't mean that it's going to go away because I don't like that tsunami. So maybe I can choose to put my swimming suit, get a surfboard, and enjoy it and maybe make some money and create future for myself. So having all said, I think that the wisest way to start dealing with adapting and really managing such kind of situation is to start ask yourself as a person, as a companies, what is the playing field for me? Where should I play? Where can be my excellence? What can I do differently from my competitors, either on the job market or as a companies? How I'm going to do that? So what is going to be my governance organization? I'm going to set it up. How I'm going to evolve the organization. For me, it's always a critical part. So how you can get organization on board and get them moving a single entity into one direction. It's not easy. For when you have a company of a few thousand people like Croatian Telecom, there are people who have big cars, big salaries, and they don't want change of current situation because it might diminish their role. Salary will be smaller and the car will not be A6, it's going to be A3. And it's a big deal, you know, what I'm going to do with A3. I cannot take my 3 kids. So how are you going to work, not just within your company, how are you going to involve market, customers, consumers, how are you going to get them engaged? Because there's a pool of knowledge and demand with those people who can help you become more desirable, more competitive, to have better products which the market actually needs. So, when you start changing business, when you start thinking about this, you surely must start changing people's mindset. You must get them on board. And you can do it by inspiration. Some people you can inspire by fear. Some you can inspire by the better future, nicer future. So I would say it's eventually independent, person by person. Each of us has certain traits, emotions, feelings, whatever. But when you are managing change, you should secure environment where you can facilitate inspiration, so that you can stimulate people to participate. And I would skip some slides so we can have more room for discussion, and I'm gonna get to those slides maybe later on. You should start with some kind of framework. So the framework means that you have some kind of project plan in which you say to organization, this is the way how I'm going to handle digital transformation or transformation of the organization. This is how I'm going to transform myself if needed. So this can be the framework which you can use for yourself or the communal services. So the first thing you would need to know is how are you going to act? What is your current position? So what is the digital challenge or organizational challenge that you have right now? In order to do that, you need first to build awareness with the top management, or when we talk about ourselves, with yourself. Do you need to change because of the digital? If the answer is yes, you need to decide where you're going to go. But before you're going to go somewhere, you need to know your starting point. So what is the digital maturity of my organization? What is what are the customer experiences? What I can get from digital as a tool? Because people are mostly fascinated with the digital tools. They think that the digital is an end goal by itself, but technology is not end goal by itself. Nice car is not a goal by itself. Nice car is a means of transportation from one place to another. So technology is there to facilitate the way the people are doing business. So the people are doing business with other people. They are creating products for other people to buy. And technology is just the catalyst which enables people to work efficiently, smoothly, to get more value, to be more precise, to be swifter, etc. In order to know your starting point, you should always have consumer, customer, user in your mind. So when you talk about the company, within the company, you should see what are the tools that your company are using internally. What is the level of efficiency? My experience in Croatia and Serbia is that 80% of companies are driven by Excel sheets. So there's so many Excel sheets going all over the place, so many data being copied from one place to another, that it takes tremendous amount of time. There are years being lost of using one data to another data. So copying data from one place to another. So if you want your people to be more efficient, to be more creative, to be more practical, to bring more value to themselves and to organization, then you should do something about your processes so that you don't have that much Excel sheets maybe, so that you have some kind of document management systems. But in order to come to the solution, which is called document management system, you need to know what your processes are like and where are the inefficiencies. So this is the approach from employee perspective, where you ask employees how do you work, where you scan the process. But you can also ask your consumers, your customers, what they want to do and how they want to use your services. I've been working with one bank, and it was interesting that all of their commercials were designed in mind to have somebody who is urban, yuppie, hipster for the cash loan, for the cash loans. And all of the commercials were some very Dubrovnik, Venice, Vienna, but most of the people who are actually using cash loans are not using that cash loans for Venice or for Dubrovnik. They are using them to buy old car, to move from Golf 3 to Golf 6 or Golf 7. So, and they are completely missing the target market. So they're investing a lot of money in communication for the product which is targeting completely other people. And this you can find from workshops which are called customer journey mapping, in which you go with your customers, and the customers are represented firstly from your employees, to go on a journey with them where we evaluate how good each touch point is we have with our customers. For example, if you have one real life experience. So recently my wife and my kids, we went to some hotel for kids. We went on a vacation in a hotel with kids, and it looked great in terms of website. It was excellent. So we came at the premise, outside it was great as well. So there were octopus all over the hotel, kids were loving it. Then we came at the checking point. At the checking point, the kids didn't know what to do because there were so many people over there waiting to get into the hotel to check in. So we found out that there is no place that you can change diaper of your kids. So there is a kid hotel. You would like to check in. You wait in line, but you cannot change a diaper. There's a water park with some kind of pirate ship, where they could have given us some kind of bracelet that we go for free there for 2 hours, and to cut that time while we were waiting, to have some fun and to have good customer experience. Nobody gave us anything. They told us to put our baggage somewhere there, and everybody was allowed to approach that baggage and take whatever they like from the luggage. So when you have this customer experience on a website, it was great. When we come at the premise, it was great. When we faced check-in process, we were so disappointed that we decided that we will never go back to that hotel. So you can find examples for each industry. So not to go into many details because it's end of the days, but when you go checkpoint by checkpoint, either it's a bank office, either it's a customer service guy, is it email, is it website, is it some service guy who comes to your apartment to repair something, you can get a sense where you are with the customers and what you can do. Because when you compare yourself with your best customer, and you say, for example, website is really important for me, and I'm going to grade it from 9 to 10, I'm going to grade it 9. And then you ask yourself, how good I am at that checkpoint or this touch point? And you say, I'm good 4. And how good is my best competitor? That company is 8 or 9. You have a clear action line, action point, what to do next, because this is obviously the touch point that you need to check. So put customer perspective first, put yourself in customer's shoes, and it can help you define how to frame the challenge. Framing the challenge, so where I'm now and where would I like to go, also needs involvement from the top line management. Is it in case of cities, mayor, in case of government, prime minister, in companies it's normally owner or CEO or the top team, board level guys. So you need to get their sponsorship, because if they don't think that's important, you're gonna fail. The next thing is of each transformation cost. You need to secure funds. And when you secure funds, you need to have projects. You need to know projects where you're going to invest. Because, for example, when you buy a house, you're not going to, let's say, when you build a house, you're not going to buy furniture in your bathroom first and put it, I don't know, on some grass out there and cover it with sheets. You need to have a project plan, and you need to decide what is the rhythm of the projects you are going to deliver and how much they cost and what value they bring. Because when you are governing the change in companies, you need to deliver wins. Companies or organizations need to see that you have made success, that you have facilitated the change, that the company has changed. So you should define the roadmap, secure investment, define what are the measurements of success, KPIs here known, and which are important for your organization. What is critical, I would say, you can buy technology, but do you have people who can work with technology? Do you have organization who can adopt technology in a meaningful way? And it's always a difficult question, because the most talented people are, in terms of technology and how to use, are leaving Croatia, and we cannot provide to most talented salaries they can get, for example, in developed markets. So HR is extremely important in terms of transforming organization, etc. So when you have defined the challenge, you define some kind of plan, you secured resources, then you need to start the transformation and move it on. So you need constantly to measure your activities and to build awareness around the organization that this is happening, that this is making impact, that this is bringing value to the organization, and that you have a real match between technology and business results. So the last but not the least in terms of how to manage this change is that you need to really get everybody on board, because when you change the company, there's going to be a lot of resistance. And in order to have this resistance solved in companies, normally financial means are the most important, because people reacting best to financial compensation. So for example, in Croatian Telecom and some other companies, first you invite people to get on board. And I would say that 30% of people say, okay, I'm willing to change, I'm going to join on this journey. You paint some kind of journey. You say, we are here and we are going to go there. And we need qualified, skilled, willful people who are going to join that change and who are going to have some benefit from it. But most of the people have experience with technology that maybe they will become obsolete. So it's difficult, really, to get everybody on board. So it's really important, in order to get organization moving on the management level, you need to have financial incentives for the managers who are driving this transformation. And if we can sum it all up, so companies normally have, or organization, they have a dilemma which they need to answer themselves. Are they going to be digitally disrupted, or they're going to be digitally reimagined? Because this is something which we all live nowadays. This is something which will not go away. As I said at the beginning, we are living in the slowest moment of our futures. If this is the future number one, in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, economy is not going to look like it looks today. We have a choice. Are we going to be passive and let things happen to us, or we are going to be active? In order to be active, there is need for a plan. Plan needs to have a beginning, it needs to have an end, and transformation of any organization, digital transformation, whatever transformation, needs to be executed in accordance to plan. And this plan can look like this, and this is the model I'm using when I'm doing, and there are some other models, there's a lot of models, but there needs to be coherent strategy with operational tasks. I'm not going to go in details. Later on, if somebody wants to talk about certain blocks, I would be willing to discuss about it. And I would like to finish with one short movie, which is going to sum up in, I think, 4 minutes what I have been saying so far. It's really nice and it's really dynamic. So can I do it by myself? Or you're going to digitally transform this stage?
Once upon a time, business as usual was often good enough. No more. Where we are going, good enough is dead. In a world where everything is connected, where everything is equally excellent, where performance is reaching perfection, there's only one space left to innovate in. You. Right now, you are a central point in the raging tornado of change fueled by digitization, mobilization, augmentation, disintermediation, automation. Well, the list goes on. Science fiction is becoming science fact. Think about self-driving cars or computers that can learn skills we need will be dramatically different. Winning or losing are now happening faster than ever before. So what's your response? How will you discover new opportunities in one of the most transformational times in human history? Are you driving change, or are you being driven by it? Disruption has become the new normal. With change, it's always gradually, then suddenly, well, things really have stopped happening gradually. This change is exponential. Everything that used to be dumb and disconnected is now wired and intelligent. Cars, cities, ports, farms, even our bodies will be wired with sensors and will talk to each other. These game changers are also combinatorial. They amplify each other, creating a perfect storm of change. Quantum computing fuels big data. The Internet of Things fuels artificial intelligence and deep learning, which fuels robotics. However, anything that cannot be digitized or automated will become extremely valuable. Human-only traits such as creativity, imagination, intuition, emotion, and ethics will be even more important in the future, because machines are very good at simulating, but not at being. Yes, robots and software will do some of our work, but this will allow us to focus on things that cannot be automated. To imagine change squared, you've got to start engaging more with what might be, not just with what is. Immerse yourself in the immediate future, 5 to 7 years out from today. We need to go beyond technology and data to reach human insights and wisdom. Technology represents the how of change, but humans represent the why. The future is about holistic business model. The opportunity is to be liquid, to learn just in time, not just in case, not single improvements, but complete transformations, not individual systems, but new ecosystems. Humanity is where true and lasting value is created. We will engage, relate, and buy things because of the experiences they provide, because of their transformative power. The future doesn't just happen, the future gets happened. The new way to work is to embrace technology, but not to become it. The future is in technology, yet the bigger future lies in transcending it. Let's live and lead from here.
So just for the end, this sums up what I have been saying today, and I would just like to recap. I started with the industrial age and the scope of change which happened during industrial age. It was for 200 or 300 years. Now we are living this age, and what I would like to say to all of you: think about the way we live now, the way we lived 10 years ago, the way we lived 20 years ago, the way we worked 10 or 20 years ago, and compare it with now. Do you think really that the change is going to stop? And so if it's not going to stop, and if you look at the next 10 to 20 years, and you think that things are going to change, I would assume that it's reasonable to ask yourself, what am I going to do to remain competitive on a job market with my company, with my organization, in that next 10 to 20 years? And do I have a plan for this? This is one possible plan for this. And since not many people are thinking about it, the people who think about it and who act upon it are going to be desirable on job market. So this is what I'm going to end with. Have a plan and work upon it.
Thank you, Mr. Kulenović. Have a seat. Hot chair is yours. Any questions for Mr. Kulenović? No? Yeah. Ms. Branka is going to start.
I'm going to stop to see.
Well, thank for that. It was very interesting lecture, but what is correlation with climate changes? I can't understand what is your message about it through your lecture, please.
Yeah. So when we talked with organizers, we wanted to have some kind of inspirational lecture which is going to be introductory in some sort of way in terms how the sensors and automation and what digital means in our daily lives. But unfortunately, I was not able to come yesterday so we moved it. So if we look at the pace of the lectures, it should have been at the beginning, so it would fit as some kind of introduction and inspiration, so that we could put all of these climate changes, because a lot of digital sensors, technology applications are deriving from these trends. So the pace and it was a bit changed.
Okay, any other questions? Digital planning is the title at the beginning of the conference, of course. I have one question. Your example from Serbia was very good, because if they need something to digital, everybody needs. And I was thinking about myself, I'm a bit scary about all of this. I do not deny technology, but I'm a little bit scary. I don't like to wear anything with chips, with something inside. I don't like that. But I ask myself, where can I start? Where can anybody of us can start to do something and to make ourselves life as better as can we do?
I think that the first thing everybody should start with is to accept that we need to have a lifelong learning approach. So, for example, in Croatia, only 3% of people adults are engaged in lifelong learning. We need to accept that after faculty, this is not the end, that we are going to need to learn each day or each month of our lives for the rest of our lives in order to be valuable to the society and to, I would say, to our families. So, from that point, when you accept this approach, then the questions will arise for yourself naturally. Okay, what should I learn? How should I apply it? Where should I start? What is the end goal? Then you start asking yourself, okay, how is going my profession to look like in 10 to 15 years? How can I come on top? Is some new trends coming in? So when you accept the approach that lifelong learning is new norm, then the roads open, so that at the first you get a lot of questions, but with the good questions usually come good answers, and from that you move on. But it starts with lifelong learning approach.
Okay, any other question? Okay, dear partners, dear guests, I would like to greet and to thank you all for coming here, for being part of this conference. I hope that we have learned something and that we are going to take that in the future for better future. Anybody has something for conclusion? Ms. Branka?
Well, I can say that I'm very grateful to all participants. These 2 days we have here a lot and learn a lot, I can say. And it is very good prepare a project, but it deals a lot about, of course, I start with municipalities. Today I have here a very good lecture from Venice University, thanks colleague. But I must say that you really suggest us to start from bottom, just to start from local authorities to the regional and to the state. And it is necessary, I agreed with you, but I think that it is something between local and the state national level. It is a regional level, of course. I'm coming from this area, but I must say that if we wish to succeed, all of us, and we have the same problem, I can say similar problem, and it is very good that you start with that connection between especially Italy and Croatia, because we are on Adriatic Sea, and so many problems are very similar. And of course our community have a similar function, I can say. We are completely different than the municipality from the North Europe, but I think that it is necessary to prepare something more on regional level, and that you have a little time until you finished this project, or in the phase of capitalization, or I can't say now. For the first time I have heard about your project. It is very good. Just to say what we can prepare on regional level, because I'm sure that the municipality levels are sometimes cut and not allowed to, not obliged to do something because that we on regional level have done something wrong, or don't understand or don't prepare something which municipality levels needs. And of course, regional level must do in a time and say on national level what to do, because sometimes national level in Croatia, for example, is without information on a time what to do, what to prepare, and they are grateful to us if we tell them something. Of course, we will be grateful to municipalities to say in time what to do on a regional level, and that vertical communication between all of us is very important. Of course, European Union, of course, United Nations. You know that all that conventions are. Some of them start on United Nations, are later on European Union. Of course, we have Barcelona Convention on Mediterranean Action Plan, or Mediterranean regional level. I am really satisfied, I must say, and I think that you have a good result, and especially Eastern County, they work a lot, and they, I have seen, very often use Horizon 2020 program live, and I congratulate a colleague. It was a good lecture from Eastern County.
Thank you. That was the reason why we are together. Italian, Austrian, Dubrovnik, your...
First of all, I would like to thank you, Mrs. Branca, for your feedback. And also, I would like to let you know that you are one of our stakeholders, the municipality, in this project. And very soon you will receive one questionnaire, and your opinion, it's very important for us, and I hope that we will have a good comparison in the future. So we count on you, of course.
Thank you very much. Everybody is satisfied? Yes? So we are finished. Thank you, and I hope that we are going to see each other again, and that we are going to go further. Thank you very much.